Good evening. This is a regular meeting of the Princeton Planning Board. It's Thursday, May 16th, 2019, and the opening statement is as follows. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the 2019 agenda resolution of the regularly scheduled meetings of the Princeton Planning Board. Such notice has been placed on the official bulletin board at the Princeton Municipal Complex and is to be maintained throughout the year by transmitting a copy of such schedule to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, Times, Trentonian, and Comcast Media. A copy has been filed with the Clerk of Princeton on the 7th day of December 2018. Legal notice on the adoption of said resolution appeared in the December 14, 2018 edition of the Princeton Packet. Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Capizzoli?
Here.
Mr. Cohn?
Here.
Mr. Oakman?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Ms. Sachs? Mr. Stankiewicz?
Here.
Mr. Czexarny?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Gunning?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Ms. Spalla?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Eileen, I think we're experiencing under-volumed microphones, correct? I'm looking at people. Crank it up.
Everyone press their buttons.
I'm sorry?
All I know how to do is turn off the
Can
recorder.
you hear me?
Yeah.
It did work earlier. There we go.
That sounded good.
Well,
Test,
Do you
test.
want me to get Terrence back?
So we're down the hall.
Yeah. Well,
is this a correctable problem, or shall we
I
just
don't
go
know.
on? You can hear, but and the people out there can hear. Evidently not. Well, as long as you can hear and you're the first applicant, why don't we? Okay, why don't we just go on to the minutes and we'll see if things improve. You had 4 sets of minutes in your package this last week, and let's start with the regular meeting of October 4th, 2018. Any corrections, additions? Anyone?
I'll move them.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Julie Capizzoli, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next one is the regular meeting of November 1st, 2018. Any additions, corrections?
I just want to mention in the announcements for the composition of the ad hoc committee, Mayor Lempert is listed twice, so strike one of the occurrences.
Right. Thank you. Anything else, anyone? Does someone want to move that with the correction that David has made?
So moved,
Second.
as amended,
Is there a
or
second?
corrected.
Second, David Cohn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The regular meeting of April 4th, 2019. Any additions and corrections? Anything, anyone? Okay, would someone like to move that?
So moved. Tim Quinn.
It's been
Louise
moved-
Wilson, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The last set is from May 2nd, 2019. Any changes, additions, corrections? Anyone? No? Okay, could I get someone to move that?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, that brings us to this evening's first hearing. Yeah, you want
An associate in my office. Can anybody hear me? Lives 2 doors down from the applicant. As a result, we have to recuse ourselves. The board is not going to have an attorney for this. The feeling was that it was unnecessary given basically the simplicity of the application. But I assure you this will probably be the only time you'll ever hear of an attorney being unnecessary for whatever.
At least the only time we'll hear it from an attorney.
We'll check the escrow statement.
We
to make sure
have,
that-
we have two attorneys on the dais.
All right.
I'm sure they'll prevent us from,
This hearing is Anthony Paleo, and it's from the May 14th, 18th subcommittee. It was a minor subdivision, and this is a request for extension of time. Mr. LaPlace, did you want to?
Mrs. Gunning, I want to put on the record that the applicant did notice, and the notice is acceptable, and the board can accept jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just not much to add to that introduction. This was a subdivision that was approved by the board last summer, actually in June of 2018, to create two conforming lots in the R9 zone. This is on Basin Street, just off Alexander Road. And basically, the applicant has been trying to meet all the conditions to perfect the subdivision and needs additional time. Basically, what they're working on now is finishing up some of the conditions of the Historic Preservation Commission approval. So it seemed like a reasonable request from staff's point of view.
Okay, thank you. Shall we hear from the applicant now? Do you want
Thank you.
to tell us about it?
Madam President, Ryan Kennedy from the law firm of Stevens and Lee for the applicant here tonight. As your planner stated, you may not remember this one because it was the minor subdivision committee approval, and that is almost pro forma up through this board. I am pleased. My understanding is that on April 24th, we received the last bit of approval from HPC, and that this extension will allow us to perfect our deed once the resolution is done at that point. So they've been working on doing it, and I'm pleased to say have accomplished that task as of the end of last month.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? No? All right, if there are no board questions on this, I pro forma have to open the meeting to public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this application? All right, hearing none, let me close that. And if there are no further comments, maybe we could have a
I would
motion.
move to grant the extension.
Thank you. Is
second.
there a second for that? Any further discussion? Would you call the roll in that, please?
Ms. Capizoli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohn,
Yes.
Mr. Oakman,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Stankiewicz,
Yes.
Mr. Texarney,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Gunning.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all, and I also want to thank staff for their help with this. This was, thank you.
All right, I think now that our attorney has returned, we're going to move on to the second hearing. This is Lynn and Joseph Cosau. It's a minor subdivision, 142, 152 Winers Road, block 9301, lots 24 and 25. And I think, Mr. LaPlace, if you want to sort of tell us what we're doing.
And if I may just interject at the beginning that Eileen advises me that proof of publication and service are in order, and the board does have jurisdiction.
Thank you. This application the proposal is to make an adjustment to the common lot line between these two existing single-family home properties. there's an existing single-family home on each of the properties, and what the applicant would like to do is transfer about 800 square feet, 809 square feet from lot 25 to lot 24. And the reason to do that is because right now the existing driveway on lot 24 actually goes over the common lot line into lot 25. So what this would do is make the existing driveway for the one lot completely within the property where the home is. And it's just an adjustment. That's really what the entire subdivision application is about. I don't know what other information you need. It's in single-family zone, R2. Everything else is conforming.
Do you know when this driveway was constructed?
I don't know the history of it. I don't know if anyone else is aware of the history of the driveway.
Well, this is a pre-existing condition for a long time. The house with the curved driveway was said by one of the previous owners to have been built about 1911, and the house below it was built in 1957. So one would assume that when 142 was built, that this is when the condition actually came into play as a conflict.
That there was a subdivision at the time that,
No, these two lots were not subdivided at that time. There have been additional subdivisions from the lots above 152. That was subdivided in the 70s, but these conditions just exist, and no one seems to know why. I'm sure maybe the applicant was immediately going to tell us that there's a
Right.
whole story behind it, but
Over the course of time, there might have been a requirement to move the driveway or alter it, but it never happened. So we don't seem to have any evidence of that.
And Michael, I should have sworn you in. If you could raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you have given and will give will be the truth?
I do.
So sworn in or affirmed.
And the lot will be conforming. I don't know if I made that clear, the frontage and the lot width.
okay. Is there someone here? Mr. West, did you want us to say anything about this?
Just to make
Jack,
a couple of
let-
clarifications.
Jack, let me swear you in. Also, if you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
So sworn or affirmed.
So you'll notice that there's some differences in the zoning chart in our memo versus the plan. I've gone over it a couple of times, and I believe the numbers in our memo are correct with two exceptions. The first one is the minimum frontage requirement. This goes back a couple of years ago. We made the change to get rid of the zipper lots or zigzag lots, and actually the required frontage is 175 feet now. However, if you're on a radius in a road, you can reduce that by 75%. So actually the required for these lots would be 131.25. The second correction is on lot 24. I have 191.24 as the frontage for lot 24. It's actually 176.76. So in all cases, they comply. The one area that you see that doesn't comply is the lot width on lot 24. Required is 175, and it shows as 130. The reason that's not a variance is that's an existing condition. This subdivision doesn't change that condition. And the way we measure lot width is at the shortest distance at any point through the house. So in this case, it's the very back of the house. You measure the lot width there, and it's 130 feet. So this is a conforming application, just a few corrections.
and just to clarify, in your memo, all of the numbers are the proposed conditions. So
That's correct.
not existing.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. All right. Is there someone here for the applicant? Would you like to come up and tell us about it?
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? Yes. So sworn or affirmed. Could you please state your full name and spell your last name?
Eric, is your mic on? Just press the button. Right there, you
There
go.
it goes. Eric Rupnarain, R-U-P-N-A-R-A-I-N.
Sorry, I can't hear enough.
Thank you. As your planner explained, the lot line adjustment that both the Cossos and also the Edelmans are proposing is to correct the lot line, the northerly lot line on the Cossos property, which is lot 24, which is the property towards the bottom or the south of the, on the sheet. And that adjustment is going to allow the existing driveway to remain completely within lot 24. The adjustment, both properties are fully approved with residential dwellings, driveways, and garages. Okay. Both parcels are fully improved with existing residential dwellings, driveways, patios, and garages. We're presently not looking to build any additional structures on either property. We're just here to correct the lot lines so that the title issues that the driveway being over the property line creates will be cleared.
Okay. Any questions, anyone?
And you're the owner of lot 25?
I'm sorry?
You are the owner of lot 25?
No. I'm the engineer for the applicant.
Oh, you're the engineer,
Actually,
okay.
The owners are Mr. and Mrs. Casso. They're sitting there also.
I see.
Mrs. Edelman is here.
Why don't you just very briefly give your credentials and qualifications? Just education, licenses, experience as an engineer.
Certainly. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed since 2006. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Villanova University. I've been practicing land development exclusively for almost my entire career since I've been licensed. I've been in front of the Board of Adjustment in Princeton and planning and zoning boards in many other municipalities in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you very much. We accept your credentials. Any questions? Go ahead, David.
I just want to verify, so you're aware that there are some discrepancies between the bulk tables on your drawings versus the bulk table that our engineer referred to in their report?
Correct. Jack did indicate that there's some discrepancies, and the plans will be modified to correct all of the discrepancies.
Okay. Anyone else? Right. And in your research, you didn't come across the real reason this happened?
I'm sorry?
I say, and in your research, you didn't come across the reason that this discrepancy in the land line happened?
Joe, Mr. and Mrs. Costa could explain better, but my understanding is that the natural boundary line where both the Edelmans and the Costas believed the property was, when the driveway got installed, it followed what they believed would have been or should have been the natural boundary line. And when we located the driveway to complete the garage construction that was underway, that's when it came to light that the driveway is now over the property line.
I see. Interesting. Okay. If there are no further questions at this time, let me open the meeting to the public, and I suppose that is the public. Anyway, if they wish to say something or anything other. No? Okay, well, let me close that portion of the meeting then, and anything further, anyone? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the application with this condition that the site plan is revised to accurately reflect the actual dimensions of the sites and the other bulk
Agreed.
statistics.
I'll second with that condition.
Okay.
And that would be, excuse me, minor subdivision approval and lot consolidation also. Obviously, that sliver is being consolidated with lot 25.
Correct. 24 is to the south, yes.
And I guess the other conditions that were in the staff report, they're minor, but renumbering of the lots and the submission of the deeds for review and all that stuff. You don't have a problem with any of the conditions that were in that report, correct?
We take no objections to any of the comments.
Okay. If there's no further discussion or comments, it's been moved and seconded. Do you want to call the roll, please?
Ms. Capizoli?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Mr. Oakman?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Mr. Stankiewicz?
Yes.
Mr. Texarney?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Gunning?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion
Move to adjourn.
Second. That's right.
Move to adjourn.
Are you seconding?
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Council, I'm going to move to Atlantic City.
I'm liking these meetings.
Yeah, right. Only all of them are that easy. How's it going? Good. Yeah. So did that email?
Hello.